Welcome to our Instructional Influencer Series. We are so excited to have you guys. Thank you for being here. We have a great lineup of people for you today. We're super excited. The idea for the Instructional Influencer Series was born out of a desire to connect with other educators during a time in which we're all facing unprecedented challenges. Each episode is structured as a conversation, allowing us to ask the questions that we all may have and share some approaches taken to solve common educational issues. This conversation will last approximately 45 minutes, and we encourage you while you're here to add your thoughts, your comments, your questions into the chat. And if we miss it during the conversation, we will definitely circle back at the end to respond to all of your contributions. So today's episode is on the power of instructional coaching. Today's host is Katheryn Cline. She's our director for advanced academics. She oversees AP and AVID. So Katheryn has about 20 years of experience in education. She's been a social studies teacher, an instructional coach, a curriculum coordinator, all prior to her current role. We also have two principal and instructional coach pairs with us. We have from Carvajal, Valerie Rabadan, principal, and her instructional coach, Marisol, Reyes. Ms. Rabadan has 13 years of educational experience as an elementary teacher and a vice principal prior to her current role. And Ms. Reyes has 6 years of educational experience, all in SAISD, as an elementary dual language teacher prior to her current role. We also have from Maverick Elementary, we have Miss Leila Garza and Miss Kristin Ivy. Miss Garza, principal, has 19 years of experience, all in SAISD, and she's served as a teacher, a campus instructional coordinator, and an assistant principal prior to her current role. And Miss Ivy has 14 years of educational experience, all also within SAISD, and has been an elementary teacher prior to her current role. So we are excited again to have a powerful lineup of women during Women's History Month. And we're excited about the message that they are bringing to share with you guys when it comes to how we're building a strong coaching culture on our campuses in partnership with principals and really moving the needle for our teachers and academic achievement for our students. So, Cline.
And thank you again for being here today. We're super excited to hear your thoughts and your strategies, your expertise around the power of instructional coaching on your campus. And instructional coaching is a passion topic of mine, very near and dear to my heart. I feel that that's essential to all that we do in our work in education. So I'm excited to talk with you guys today. So first of all, what is your coaching philosophy? Like, how do you view coaching and your role on your campus, et cetera?
Okay, I'll go first. A big believer that it has to be a partnership. And it has to be built on some collaboration, passion, for learning. We have to be able to communicate. We have to have respect for each other. And we also have to add in time for reflection, right? So we're trying to move the needle. And in order to coach and to work together, we have to be able to be reflective in the end to say, did this work? Is this not working? And how can we tweak it? So big believer on that it's a partnership together.
Yes, I would agree with Ms. Garza about, a partnership, a two-way street between teacher and coach, learning from each other. And I think a lot of that is built on trust, right? Teachers have to trust coaches and coaches have to trust teachers and trust administration. I think that's where it all starts. And then that way, from there, there's positive relationships, and then you can focus on keeping the topic of conversation student-centered, and that your goals are the same and you want the same outcomes, and you trust each other that the expectations are high for each of you, and then that's when the work gets done.
We're going to go ahead and piggyback off of that. We certainly agree with it has to be a partnership where we're creating a culture where teachers are feeling supported, but as well as our instructional coaches, where they're working alongside our teachers and learning together, so that there's that vulnerability from both parties of we don't know everything. We have to learn together and grow together on improving the best practices and meeting the needs of our students.
And creating a culture of reflective teaching, where you're reflecting on your teaching practices and doing this as a coach, helping the teachers through an inquiry approach, where it's all through questioning and not just, demand. It's questioning, like, how can we do this better? What did you think of how this went? So helping teachers in that way as well to build that trust.
Absolutely. And as a cognitive crush of Gym Night, it's so exciting to hear you all talk about those partnership principles, and really that any coaching relationship depends on that partnership approach. So how did you establish a culture of coaching on your campus? Like, what systems do you have in place to support that? What does that look like, that coaching is just a natural part of campus life at Maverick and at Carvajal?
So I always go back to, people don't care about how much you know until you show them how much you care. So the first part of establishing that culture is showing our teachers how much we care for their growth and then for their students in their classroom. And that's through building relationships and building that trust. Again, going back to that vulnerability. And so starting with that, but then tagging along the modeling and then showing how we ourselves need coaching and how we have looked elsewhere to get assistance to grow, and continually telling them, reach out to us and how can we support you, and here are some ideas. We can't expect them to come to us because that's not helping us establish that culture. We have to, just keep being out there and asking for how we can help and what we can do so that they can start feeling that vulnerability to ask, because it's very hard for them to want to come and say, I need to grow in this area. How do I do that? So we have to open the doors and make sure that it's welcoming before we can even start the process of coaching.
And it's definitely a work in progress. It's never going to be a set in stone. Every year is different. Every month can be different. One month can be going great. Another month you're reflecting on your practices. But it's all going back to doing the work alongside the teachers in campus planning and POCs, and being available for them to help them in their areas of strength and areas of need as well.
Right. They have to see that we're there beside them and that we're not asking them to do something that we're not willing to do.
Oh, I would definitely agree, Ms. Rabadan. Here at Maverick, we have kind of like a very hands-on approach. So most teachers have like an open door policy, like doors open, come in anytime. And I think because myself and admin were always in classrooms, it doesn't seem foreign for us to be in there. And so if we see like an immediate coachable moment, we're all in. So it's, oh, you know what, can I model something for the students really quick? And they're like, yeah, sure, go for it. And then sometimes, we might have to wait and say and talk about it later and ask questions. But yeah, for sure, working alongside teachers, I think is really key, and making sure that I'm never going to question anything that I haven't seen already in classrooms, or that I wouldn't definitely do myself. And I know Ms. Garza is the same way. She's always in classrooms. You can see her on the floor with pre-K kids and, sitting in desks next to fifth graders, also working with students. So I think that's key, making sure that that's key in the partnership aspect as well.
Yes. One of my big things I tell my administrative team, including Ms. Ivy, is that our paperwork, our desk work happens after hours, right? We're here to serve during the school day. So we're out and about, we're helping, we're problem solving, we're making sure that our teachers have everything that they need, that there's no barriers in place, because the action is happening during the day, right? And all of our other stuff happens afterwards when we need to work on the other things that need to get done. But one of the things is that, yes, very hands-on. You know what, we're not asking them to do anything we wouldn't want them or couldn't do or wouldn't do with them. We're right there next to them. Miss Ivy and I have a really good relationship, and we talk all the time about what our needs are and what we're seeing. And like she said, we'll model right away, right in the moment, to help our students, or we'll come in and talk and work with parents or whoever we need to work with right in the moment. So our barriers are taken away from teachers. One of the things I wanted to say is that we had to build relationships, and then we had to move towards, collaboration with our teachers. We had to model, we had to, we're opening and trying to develop a culture where teachers model for each other. They don't do that much, but we're moving in that direction because I think of Miss Ivy and her approach. And, we're always sharing ideas, and we're always trying to make sure that, our teachers have everything that they need during the school day. And then we're moving to a lot of, having teachers reflect on their practices more openly and honestly, privately or with each other as a grade level and PLC meetings. And that's helping shift those norms of the culture that we have around, the instructional practices we do, here at Maverick.
So thinking about the coach's role and communicating that culture of coaching, this question is for our two principals. How has the coach's role on campus been communicated to your staff? And how did you all build these relationships, these amazing partnerships you have with your coaches on campus?
Well, I think it starts off at the beginning of the year. We were very fortunate to have Miss Ivy move from the classroom right into the role. She was in the classroom at Maverick and then move into the coach's role. So she didn't have to get to know a lot of new teachers. She knew a lot of colleagues during that time. But we were able to, make sure that, because her role is shifting, right, from colleague to now an instructional coach, that we articulated her roles and responsibilities at the beginning of the school year. And we want to make sure that our staff knew everything that she could do and provide for them during the school day. Any needs that we have, she's readily available at any time. Like I said, we drop everything that we need to do for them during the school day. And I think that has helped them realize that and open the doors for them to come and talk to her about their needs instructionally.
So we use the opportunity at the beginning of the year to communicate the role, but what I find myself doing throughout the year is having to recommunicate the role of the instructional coaches with specific teachers, specific times of the year, during the month of February when we're all extremely busy, taking that time to recommunicate it so that everyone's aware of the role, because it can easily be miscommunicated that the instructional coach could be a part of the admin team because of the close relationships that are necessary to plan and grow the campus. So I find myself having to re-communicate every now and then for myself as well as for the teachers, so that they see the differences between the two roles and the waters don't get murky.
So if the two of you were talking to maybe a brand new principal or a principal that was newly allocated instructional coach, what advice might you give them about communicating that role, or best ways to use their instructional coach, or what coaching could look like on their campus? What would you say to them?
I'd first say to build the relationship with your instructional coach quick, fast, and in a hurry, as fast as you can, so you can kind of get to know each other's personalities, how we communicate with each other, but with others, so that you're aware of how we're communicating with teachers when we're not together. So knowing and building that trust with your coach, and then setting those expectations. Here is where we're going as a campus. And understanding each other's expectations and beliefs and philosophies, so that we're able to help be partners together to then turn around and help our teachers.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And then I would add that having a united front, in front of your teachers and your staff, so that they know you're together, you're in sync, you're working on a common goal, and it is to support the teachers. I like what Ms. Rabadan said about the roles could be kind of murky, and then just making sure that, the coach is also reiterating that, this is non-evaluative, feedback I'm giving you, and the support. And I often tell Miss Ivy, our classrooms and what's happening in our classroom is a reflection of our work, right? And so if we have struggling classrooms or data struggling, it is a reflection of everybody on the team. including the coach, and then what are we going to do about it? So making plans of actions when we see our data to say, okay, we've got to get in there, we've got to support these students and help our teachers, because the pandemic has affected our data, and we have a lot of setbacks, but knocking them out and making sure that we know where we're going and what supports our teachers need, and making sure that we provide them for them.
I hear all four of you talk a lot about helping teachers be reflective and growing in the reflective practices. So what does that look like and sound like on your campus? Like how do you help the educators that you work with and that you serve be more reflective?
I think one of the ways to help out is to know your campus. You need to know your teachers, and it goes back to differentiation. How are you going to support everyone based on, are they new teachers? Do they need that support by the grade level? Is it an experienced teacher in a new grade level that doesn't know the content? So what kind of support does this teacher need? And then you decide, okay, now one of the things that I have used that I learned through the Emerging Leaders program with SAISD was the See It, Name It, Do It protocol. And that one, it really allows you to identify, go into the classroom and identify the main focus point. Because there might be more than one, but of course, we're not going to be focusing on all of them at once, right? You need to take one at a time. You need to determine which one is the main focus point that is going to help this teacher in all the other areas that are in need. So this inquiry approach, the See It, Name It, Do It, is all question-based. So you can go in there, make an observation, and then create your questions based on what you want the teacher to reflect on. And that's how the teacher is the one that's kind of doing most of the work, noticing in what areas they need to work on.
And talking, it's got to be constant reflection during the whole coaching cycle. We have to reflect before we could even present the idea of having a teacher go through a coaching cycle, and because we can't tell a teacher, here's what you need. We need the teacher to come to that on their own. And that's first through reflection, and going back to what Ms. Reyes said, the questioning. We really have to think about those questions that we're using to help them reflect and get to where we'd like for them to get. And then throughout the instructional coaching, the cycle, reflection questions again, because through those reflecting questions, it can help our instructional coaches grow in how they can support the teacher or where they're going. And then at the end, how did it go? Was this efficient for us? How can we grow together to be better at these cycles? So we have to take the time to purposefully reflect throughout the whole cycle.
Yeah, I know that I have those reflection questions taped to my little journal, because those are always my go-to, right? And I have my favorites that I use all the time. Like, I'm wondering if we did this, right? Or did that go the way that you thought it would went? Tell me about that. And then it's just natural, right? Those natural reflection questions. But those prompts are kind of my go-to, because sometimes you want to say something and then you're like, wait, I need to make sure that, we're reflecting together. But then also too, I'm asking kind of those clarifying questions. But I do think it helps when you're in the planning process with the teacher and you choose a move like noticing and naming, and having the teacher notice some of the things that you've already noticed, and then you guys can reflect together afterwards. But those prompts, those are life changers.
So yeah, I agree with everything. And like I said, when you're building a relationship with someone, the reflection can be natural once you start, and they know that they can trust you. They start to reflect, because all teachers want to do the best that they can do, and they want help, and they want support when it's needed. And it's just through questioning and the way you frame things, and that you're actually doing the work. Because we can say a lot of things, but if you're actually not doing the work after what you said, or following up, or providing I like to follow up on, there's a lot of research and books and things, and I've read a lot of different books, and there's some go-to books that I go to. So if I know right away, I can give them the technique really quick, out of the Teach Like a Champion book, like you could, do this technique really quick. And so we like to try to give bite-sized feedback to them and help them be reflective, something they can turn around really quick in the classroom that won't take much. Because there could be a lot of things you need to work on, but you've got to pick the highest leverage thing to start on and then move towards that.
And that is one thing that I love about Miss Garza, is that even with me, when I'm reflecting on something that happened in a classroom, she'll direct me to a book, and she's like, have you looked at this book and noticed these things? And then I'm like, oh, and then she's like, she'll follow up with me like, hey, did you try that strategy or this with a classroom with a teacher? And so then that helps me. She does a lot of modeling for me. So then that helps me be a better coach as well.
So this next question is just directed to our instructional coaches. So what is your favorite part or the most rewarding part about this role as a campus instructional coach?
I've been at Maverick for a long time, but in this role, I like that I am getting to know every student in a unique, it's weird to say like, oh, you can know 500 students, but it's weird how when you're constantly in classrooms, you learn students, you learn about what they can and can't do yet, but also to watching them grow academically, socially, and then we're working alongside teachers and you're working with students and you're like, wow, like I'm seeing the changes. It's different when you're in the classroom and you've kind of really only see your 22 or 24. But when you see whole shifts in grade levels, it's really interesting to see. So I really have liked these past 2 years, just seeing that kind of change and just knowing that, because sometimes in teaching, you don't always get to see the fruits of your labor, right? Like you plant a seed and then 4 years later that kid blossoms and you might not see it yourself, but you have to just in turn know that it happens. But in this role, I get to see the fruits of the labor and all the hard work that the teachers are doing. And like, wow, 2 years later, like these students have grown so much. And it's because of what those foundational skills that those students have gotten in the work and the interventions and all the things, right? So I think that has been really eye-opening for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Miss Ivy. Seeing the kids grow, and especially when it goes all back to your CIP plan, your campus improvement plan, which I think last year that was our main focus as a campus, to do it together, to analyze the data, to determine our main focuses for the year, and then building up to that. So we have a plan, we know where we need to get to, and all of these are the main milestones that we need to complete to get there. So like this year, a lot of our stuff was going to be focusing on math instruction and setting structures in place throughout pre-K through 5th grade. And we had the opportunity to have a consultant, Ms. Knudsen, helped us with that, with our math. So, seeing that alignment going from pre-K to 5th grade, seeing pre-K students have journals and kinder students have journals and write in them. And I think one of our main celebrations was we had to do a split in a grade level because of numbers. And the kids went to the other classroom and they were like, oh, you guys have the same Anchor chart? You guys have those journals too? So seeing that we are providing an equitable opportunity across the grade levels and in the whole school, the kids, it's gonna set those structures in place. And I think that, like Ivy said, you're seeing those changes, not only in your classroom, but now you're seeing it across a whole campus.
So you both talk a lot about seeing growth and shifts in grade levels and whatnot. How do you all as a campus celebrate your successes and your growths and your overcoming maybe some challenges as a campus as a result of this coaching work?
So like they say in PLC, for professional learning communities, learning by doing book, celebrating every moment you get, even the small successes. Bringing the teachers together and being silly and celebrating them. The other day, we brought them into the cafeteria and we got the maracas out, we got all the music out, and we were dancing for them and cheering them on when they came in, just to celebrate the growth that we saw in our map data. And they weren't expecting it, but they came in, and it was beautiful to see the happiness that they had from us celebrating them. And it kind of gave them a little pep in their step, knowing that they're being appreciated. So I know in PLC, they always say, bring a cake, get a cake for every success, you know, whatever you can, bring them treats, give them personal letters, anything that, you know, you got to kind of have to know, what is their love language? Do they want the treats? Do they want the extra time? You know, surprising them like, hey, it's 3 o'clock, you get to leave early, we're going to cover your class today. So finding out how they want to be appreciated and celebrate in that way. So it's differentiated. It looks different for each teacher, for different grade levels, just finding any way to celebrate them and the work that they do.
I think in this profession, we like any excuse to celebrate. And I mean, think about it. We were going crazy on Tuesday, tacos and all the things. We're just making up things at this point, but I love it. That's my favorite part of being in education, is we will celebrate anything. We will take, it's National What Day? Yep, we're celebrating it. So the same thing, we differentiate. Sometimes it is just busting in a classroom and, oh my gosh, 4th grade, did you hear that? You guys did this, and they're like, we did. And so we just get excited. Fruit snacks for everybody. And Miss Garza really likes Scratch-Its. So she buys those, the little silver stickers from Amazon, and she'll just put random prizes behind it. And then teachers are scratching it and they're like, yes, I got a ream of paper or whatever, jeans for the week. So just little things like that, because you know teachers work for those jeans, right? And you do have to know your teachers in your campus. Some teachers, like, yes, they will work for jeans, like, and kids too, right? We're working for what? Takis? Got it. Okay, let's do it. So I think any little thing to celebrate and keep morale high and boosted, because kids need to know that they're hitting their growth goals and that they're doing well. And the only way they know is if you tell them, right? And teachers too, sometimes this job is hard. So it's really nice to know when things are going good. So.
And just piggyback on the growth goals, Ms. Rabadan, our principal, and our assistant principal, Ms. Zavala, they do make sure to celebrate those growth goals with the students, and they invite them during lunchtime. They get to eat lunch with them, for everyone who met their growth goal. And we don't forget about the other kids too. We celebrate them too by, you know, checking how many points away. Oh, you needed one more question for your growth goal. So being very aware of the goals for the whole campus. But I think that them seeing and that their principal and their assistant principal is available for them to have lunch, I think it's helped our students a lot.
Yes, and I mean, what kid doesn't want to work for pizza? Oh, I'm going to Little Caesars almost every week, it feels like at this point, but they love pizza. And we principals are also looking for little successes too for ourselves. And one of the things that I just loved this year, finding out about one of our teachers, I was always buying all of these snacks and she never touched any of them. And then the one day we got Bird Bakery cupcakes. She was the first one in line getting those cupcakes. And I'm like, I figured you out. So if I want you happy or I need to cheer you up, I got to go to Broadway, get you some Bird Bakery cupcakes, and you'll work for that. She goes, that's all I need is that. So it's really identifying what works for each person on campus.
So many great examples of celebrating success. Thank you guys for sharing all of the ideas. So thinking about the partnership between you, yourself and the coach, principal, how do you all communicate each other? Like communicate with each other? Like what systems do you guys have to talk with each other, meetings, et cetera? Like what does that look like, the communication between the coach and the principal?
Well, we communicate often from, before you wake up and get out of bed, there's a text, there's a group chat, going on what we have to do. But we have protected time every week, for our meetings. Miss Ivy and I run into each other all the time. Right now, I know her schedule, I can see her schedule, but we communicate often. We text a whole lot. Anytime I go to a meeting, I meet with them the day after or the same day, make notes. I keep her and my team well informed because I need them to help do that work, and I hate to give them last minute stuff. So communication is key. We just find time, we dedicate time to share information. If there's something that's a high need, we do it right away, so that we can take care of whatever we have to take care of, especially if it's happening in a classroom.
Yeah, she went ahead and put a cot for me in her office, so that way if I need to sleep there, no, I'm just kidding. But we do communicate a lot. We text a lot if it, but that's kind of something we know each other's boundaries, right? So texting each other is a-okay. And we do see each other's calendars, so we kind of know I already know she's in this, so I'll wait till this time to go pop in. But Ms. Garza has an open door. If it's closed, then I know she's in a Zoom. But if it's open, then she's very welcoming, so I can just go in and talk to her. But we do have a protected meeting time every week that we try not to schedule anything else during that time. And we know that's where, our major work gets done after school. And okay, I'm going to make sure we have a running agenda too. So if I need to add something, or she'll add to it, or another member of our team will add to it. And we all know that don't schedule doctor's appointments during that time. Try not to have any other stuff happening, because that's our time to meet.
We pretty much have the same thing. We text, we call, we email, protected meeting times, everything. I mean, we have to have that open communication so that we're meeting the needs of our teachers and our students.
And I think, having that trust to have those difficult conversations as well. I think it's helped us out a lot, and that solution or base oriented kind of communication. Because whenever there's a problem that I notice or something, like I try to come up with solutions before I go to her, like, hey, this happened, but we can do this, this, and this. And I learned that from her more than anything. She is very solution oriented, but having that open communication and trust to share the needs of the campus and kind of where we're doing good and maybe where we might be going wrong.
Yeah, and I think I just want to add one last thing, that Miss Ivy and I work well together because we're both open to feedback, right? I'm not perfect. She's not perfect. We need each other to give each other feedback. I often ask them, how did that go? We coach each other up in conversations. We help each other and support each other in any and every way, whatever I can do. I don't know everything. I learn a lot from Miss Ivy. I mean, daily, I've learned so much from her. But we work together in a partnership because we have a common goal, and that's that our school is successful, that our kids are learning, that our teachers feel supported, and that they're successful, right? They get up and come to school every day, and they want to be the best teacher they can be, and and we're there to support them and to cheer them on and to celebrate them so they can be the best educator for our students. I mean, we are a community school. We owe it to our community to make sure that we're educating their children. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. Maverick wouldn't exist. So we're here to serve them and to serve the students of our community, to make sure that they're educated in the best way possible.
Ms. Cline, you had asked a question about what should a principal do with their instructional coach, one of the first things. And I think going back to what everyone's saying here is setting that precedence that we have to hold each other accountable and be trustful, and say, look, if I'm not doing something right, or if I could have done something better, I depend on you to share that with me, because we have to help each other grow to be better for our community. And so really setting that precedence at the beginning, we can't hurt feelings. We can't step on toes. It's our job to hold each other accountable and share how we can be better.
Definitely some great strategies and tips on how to have that protected time together, communicate. Thank you all for sharing that. And Ms. Rabadan, you really spoke to the idea, like, everyone deserves a coach, right? You think about Olympic athletes, or think about LeBron James, like people at high levels all have coaches. Like coaching is not for people that are not just for people that are struggling. Like everyone deserves a coach. And hearing you guys talk about how y'all coach each other and use that power of coaching to provide feedback and to be able to support the teachers and the students that you serve is very powerful. So how has your own thinking grown or changed as a result of this partnership that you have with the coach principal?
I think we're evolving as instructional leaders every day. Being in this district, this is my second year here in this district, and I am surrounded by so many instructional leaders here. You know, Miss Reyes, my other instructional coaches here, my assistant superintendent, Dr. De Leon. I'm always reaching out to her, asking, how can I grow? How can I be better? I think it's just constantly evolving and looking for that support, looking for that feedback, because we don't know everything. And so every day we're learning something different. Every day we're having to be forced to reflect on our own actions and how we can be better. So I think that's something that all of us leaders feel constantly. Our brain is running all the time. How can we be better? No, I did this way. I should have done it this way. And so that's us being vulnerable to reach out to other leaders here in our district, as well as our instructional coaches, and saying, I did this wrong, and what's your suggestion? How can I be better at this? But being open and willing to do that.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to having that goal for the whole campus. I mean, all students do deserve a quality teacher. So as a coach, how are we going to help that? And it's like Ms. Rabadan said, reflect on your practices. You know, if that conversation didn't go well, what could you have done to do it better? If that relationship with that teacher is not going well, how can you reconstruct it, right? And I think it goes back to communication. We need to be open to communicate and to not keep those wonderings. Like if you're wondering something, you know, go and ask, like, what is it? How can I help you? Is there something that I can support you on? And just continue to reflect as a coach and to best support all the areas of strengths and areas of growth.
Yeah, and I'm just going to piggyback. I mean, we are evolving. I've spent all of my educational career in SAISD, and I can say 19 years, the instructional support we get from the district level, from our supervisors, from our directors, is top notch. It has, I mean, I haven't ever, you know, felt so supported now than versus the past. Like, we are in a good space. SAISD is the place to be. Our leadership team downtown, our bosses here in the school, you know, we're better because of you guys and the support that you provide, because you're an extension. We're an extension of you guys. You're an extension. We need each other, and those partnerships are really building and connecting. I can, you know, call, and I know a lot of people downtown. I can call them right away and get what I need done or taken care of or answered right away. So kudos to you guys, because that's how we get our job done here in the trenches.
Yes, Ms. Garza has everybody's phone number. I love it. She's like, let me text them. But I do agree with the evolution of SAISD. You know, I think even with the role of a coach has evolved so much within the past few years, of being one that was more, I think, relationship based and shifting to more student centered, and understanding that you do have to build a positive relationship, but always keeping students at the forefront of the instructional decisions that you make, I think is key. And I think that's one thing that I've learned, is just being in a role where I was a teacher, being coached, and then now being a coach, coaching teachers. I think I've just learned about the changes in that role and how that role is evolving, and just understanding it a little bit better now. So that way I can do my job better. And that way in turn, we can all grow from the experience. That needs to be a t-shirt, the evolution of SAISD.
I think I would buy that one. Absolutely. Yes. There's some great t-shirt designers in the district. Let's work on that. Absolutely. So really our last question is thinking about what are some possible next steps for your campus regarding instructional coaching? Like, what's the next step for y'all? What's the next I guess, hurdle or next rung that you can get to, or like next way you're going to grow this partnership between coach and principal?
Well, here at Carvajal, I think right now it's just a cycle. I think, we go through this setting the expectations of a coach, the relationship we need to have, how we need to work, and then we get into it and then we realize, oh, we need to make some changes. And I think that's what we're still doing. We're still evolving as a team and evolving in how we can support instructionally our teachers. And I think what we've been doing is looking for feedback, asking for reflection on our practices from our own teachers, and trying to take that moment. Let's look in the mirror and see how we can improve for them. So our next step is just looking at that same cycle. How can we keep improving? How can we meet the needs of our teachers based on where they want to grow? And just building off of that. And I think, we're in a good spot and we're going to keep working, but it's work. But if we include everybody, then that's how we're going to see progress. And so we're still building that up here, and we're excited to keep leading the charge. But it's not going to be by ourselves. It's going to be with the whole team. And that's our next hurdle, is how to make sure that everyone knows we're all a part of this and we're all on the same mission here. Just keep going back to that.
Yes, we've already talked about how we can kind of leverage our time in PLCs a little bit better, and how creating, solid schedules. So these things happen at this time. And you know how that is, right? Once you see things in motion and then you already think about how can we start tweaking this for next year, or in the spring, we want to make sure this happens. And it's that constant reflection of how things are going, I think, in our part. And then reflecting, of course, with teachers, not just based on their classroom data, but just how things are evolving on our campus, and making sure that we're shifting the culture in a positive way, and that things that we do put in place, strategies that we're committing to, become a part of our campus culture and stay a part of our campus culture. So it's not like, oh yeah, last year we did that, but this year we're doing this. Well, no, if things are working, that's the Maverick way, right? That's the SAISD way. This is what we're doing now, because we know it's successful.
And it also, I think it goes back to setting different goals every year. So I know our first year that Carvajal opened, it was a lot of planning support for teachers. The second year, it was more of the structures set in place when Ms. Rabadan came in. Like, we need structures at this campus. It was setting those structures, communicating those structures. And now this year, it's kind of like that GRR, where now that we have the structures, you've had the support lead those structures. Now we want to give the teachers more of that autonomy to now lead all of those structures. So for example, our POCs, last year was mostly led by the ICs. We were supporting the 4 questions, how to plan for that, helping them with the data. We were doing a lot of the data during the POCs, but now this year, and this is something that you just don't think on your own. It's the conversations that you have with your admin. I know Ms. Rabadan said, like, hey, you have a simulation or something coming up. When are you guys going to analyze the data? So during POC, we need to be doing this, or the analysis needs to be happening at another time. So, setting those schedules and the time for different things, but also going with the flow of how the campus is growing and how the teachers' leadership is growing as well. So now our next steps for our PLCs is giving the teachers the autonomy. You plan the POC. Are you going to be analyzing a test? Are you going to be looking at exit tickets? What is it that you're going to be doing? And how are the instructional coaches going to support you? Do you need them to help you create the test? Do you need them to help you find where you're going to get the test, the questions? What resources do you need? So it's kind of, we're more at the end of that GRR. And I know that whenever we do get to the end, it's going to be a whole cycle again. Okay, now what else do we need to work on?
Yes. And one of the things, the next steps, because we're wanting to release them a little bit more on the PLCs, for them to have that autonomy, is setting up protocols. Because I certainly don't want our teachers feeling like, you just left us alone out here. Now we've got to figure it out. We want to set protocols. What does this look like after CBAs? What does this look like after MAP data or unit assessments? So setting those protocols up so they have that blueprint of what to follow, but always know that they're not alone and we're here to support. But, you know, we really just came to that conclusion maybe a few weeks ago. We decided, hey, we need to release it a little bit more. And we didn't make that decision. It was the teachers asking, can we have a little bit more voice and choice in the PLCs? So it's taking their feedback and seeing how we can evolve for them to give them what they want. But it's taken 1.5 years to get them to that point where they're asking, can we take some lead in it? They're not ready for all of it, but they want to take some. And so we're using them to guide how we support them. So those are the next steps for us.
Yes, I'd have to agree. We've had to work up on our PLCs, but we're gonna be restructuring them next year. Our plan is to kind of restructure them because they've had some grade levels, they want more autonomy and some need a little bit more support. So a balance. So we're coming back to balance them. We do have some maverick ways, the way we do data, the protocols we use, but just making sure that we strengthen those, that we're using those protocols and procedures with fidelity, that we're doing it after every assessment, not just in PLC. And so those kinds of things. So yeah, we're going to be tightening up on that and just making sure that to utilize our DDI and making sure that it's, student-centered all the time.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing those next steps. I know that I can speak for the Office of Academics when I say we're excited to see those next steps. And if we can support you in any way in those next steps, please let us know. Any last thoughts about coaching or how it works on your campus or anything you'd like to add that we didn't cover?
I want to add something. I want to give you a shout out, Ms. Cline, because prior to your new role, you were in charge of the ICs, and I did learn a lot from you about coaching, your professional development, and then you are always available through a phone call whenever I had questions on how to talk to a teacher, how to problem solve something. So thank you for that. I really appreciate your support.
Thank you for those kind words. Much appreciated.
Yes, I know, and I know I'm not the only coach that thinks this, but I think we benefit a lot from the Instructional Leadership Academy and the things that we learn. And I'm not like a huge book study fan. I know, shocker, what? Don't tar and feather me just yet, but I have been learning a lot from the books that we're going through in those sessions. And I'm more of a person that needs to like see it in real time and like be there in the moment. And COVID has really slapped me in the face for that. So I'm learning to learn in different ways, which is good. But I do think we learn a lot from each other in those leadership academies. And then those are things that I take back to Ms. Garza. And then when she's in her principal meeting, she takes back things to me and we kind of are able to collaborate on different things. But I do think that our specialists and the CIA, that you guys are really supportive too. So that helps. So those of us that are on campuses do feel like we have some lifelines we can always depend on.
I just want to share that we are surrounded by an amazing community here. This job is fun. This relationship with our ICs and our other coaches here on campus, it is fun. And I enjoy coming to work because of the people that we get to work with. Perfect example, my colleagues here, Ms. Parker, Ms. Langford, Ms. Kay, Dr. De Leon, I mean, they showed up to support and learn alongside us. And so this is a fun leadership instructional role. Are there going to be hard times? Absolutely. But I think we can all agree that we're having a blast doing it.
Thank you all for this morning. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your ideas and your expertise and the way you all leverage instructional coaching on your campus. We look forward to seeing all the amazing, wonderful things continue at Carvajal Hall and Maverick. We just appreciate your time and sharing your gifts with us. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. Oh my gosh, there were so many great things that were shared, so many great ideas. Nuggets of information. You guys hit on some really important themes: partnership, reflection, student-centered, goal orientation, growth mindset, celebrating our teachers and the work that we've done. And I don't know that it was explicitly stated, but you certainly captured this idea of collective efficacy and how we are better together, right? And we can accomplish anything with an open mind, working together, giving each other feedback, being willing to grow. So thank you so much for sharing all of that.